I've been mulling over, and more. I'm seeing this kind of last gasp. I think at really sort of trying to really make people understand. You're gonna we're you're gonna fucking science. It doesn't matter if we just say things, and it is therefore scientific proof. Because one of the things that is fascinating is the gender argument is coming from people who said just believe all women, which, it was mapped out like, well, no, our our way of doing things where it's adversarial and you have to actually prove your claims is also a key way that we investigate the truth in the Western world, and that's been going on for a long time in that manner of some kind of adversarial form. So it's it, and something I started to really think about was, and then there was the healthy at all sizes myth and wacky pseudoscientific thing, and so it then became after that all you've got to do is say you're a woman, and you are inherently. And also that there's a reason you need to refer to somebody. There's something completely rational about referring to somebody as a plural, as a they, where these people know that was done for royalty. They know it. They actually totally know it, because it's a middle-class white American phenomena of trannyism and gender sexualism. So they know what they're doing. They want some kind of really weird special treatment, because they're middle class and they understand, or even upper class and college educated. They understand that they could make claims, wild-eyed, ridiculous claims that like physical safety is a privilege of capitalism, because they know they're never going to really give up what they have. They're always going to make like generations of people who've associated with the revolutionary left, like boomers. You see this, it's just rife. College towns, wealthy college towns, that full of these people who give to all these kook organizations, letting criminals out, and supporting Hamas and all kinds of stuff. And what it is that they will never, they don't want their shit ripped off. They're not really necessarily NIMBYs about it. They'll kind of allow a little bit of chaos, but at a certain stage, they get tired of it too. That's why you saw, Oregon being like, no, you just can't camp wherever the fuck you like. Boom. And now all these, even in the blue enclaves, they ran people off. They ran them out. And because everybody knows, it's like they invested in these properties for a fucking reason. They're not stupid. They might be chumps, but they're not stupid. They might be leftists, but they're not stupid. They know how to stay rich. They want to retire in style. Because they deserve it. Like a woman's health book. They deserve it. I love that post. You look up men's health books, and the phrase "you have to" is this overwhelming, majority phrase. You deserve it is the one that's the majority phrase in women's health books. I like that. That was self-help books. That was pretty good. So something I was considering is, with all these video game artists and stuff, and they're like, oh, you're just all this way and that way, and you're horrible people, and that really it's no. There is a Q angle unique to women. There's an entire ratio of upper body musculature that it can't be ignored. It's a fundamental part of when you learn art. When you learn how to draw humans, there's this critical issue of no, that there's a Q angle, and so therefore the body would at different angles is going to look a certain way, and this, that, and the other, and the ratio of where the musculature and the mass are is a certain thing. You then have the physics and the physics engines that would have to have the center of gravity positioned in a certain way because the Q angle makes the center of gravity rest a certain way. So denying all of this kind of stuff, the Q angle being genetic, it's just one of these things like, no, now you never had claims about the science thing. And now it's really starting to become, there's really something about the cultural Marxists, the slash wokies, all these kind of people that it's obvious you're either people who are very kind of sort of, you're kind of shockingly poorly informed at all times on subjects you take very seriously, or, which is much more likely, you're just not very honest. You're just dishonest people. You're just playing a dishonest game. You're just trying to actually ruin stuff because you like that. You like ruining it. You like that because it's easier to attract negative attention than positive attention. Positive attention requires work. Positive attention gathered from other people requires some kind of talent or skill, or at least neoteny and beauty. And so it's starting to show through that it's like, oh, okay, this is now like this permanent issue, possibly, or a multi-generational issue of people who are bad at art and are not really good at attracting positive attention for whatever reasons, now have this niche. They could ruin art that other people made. And so rather than them throwing paint on it, they could just ruin the entire IP. And it's an effective method of attracting negative attention. The thing is, as I was saying before, it will start people gatekeeping more. Now, I realize I didn't give a really good example of how gatekeeping will increase. The closing of the human rights campaign's educational institutions across Europe in many countries. That's an example of like one of the highest levels of gatekeeping anyone can imagine. That's not just Hungary and Viktor Orban. This has happened in now more countries, and so it's the ultimate in gatekeeping, where they're like, no, this entire way of thinking is not even going to exist in our country. This is going to be seen as this strange way that people who are strangely educated think of the world, and it'll become very, very obvious that this is about like ruining something or changing something in a way that nobody really wants changed in that way. And this is going to work great. I mean, like, this couldn't even be done without people on the left pushing so hard and ruining things and messing with people and doing stuff like that. It could not have worked without the left. The left had to really have an opportunity to shine like a bright red star, and so that people could see how being bathed in the light of blood and fire is actually very uncomfortable. There's just something really menacing about it. You know, it's the wonderful yellow golden sunshine of, you know, truth and the Lord Jesus Christ and all that kind of stuff. Much better, far preferable. But, and a lot of people are showing this by joining Team Godpill. But anyway, there's no way you're selling it in art. You're not selling it to the culture. They're not buying it. And not just not buying it, billions of dollars worth of not buying it. You're losing. in amazing new levels of that losing kind of has never been categorized in. That's the big thing that also I've been noticing is that this movement and I swear it just keeps blowing my mind when I think about. I keep trying to think of the ratio I'm seeing. The fundamentally this is as an ethnic manifestation, and I'm like, no, this is totally middle class. This is a bourgeois thing of, no, I get to tell you all what reality is because I put on this weird outfit. And I keep trying to slough that off, and I'm like, because it's happened before. Commies and Nazis did that with physics. They basically wanted to get whatever group that they hated out of science. So during kind of various heights of their rises to power, they would have, like, what was it? I think it was socialist physics. And with the Nazis, it was Aryan physics. And it was supposed to get all the not good people things out. And so with fat acceptance, with the way COVID went down, but really then, no, this is totally a woman. Now you've done the same thing with science, and it's that the idea being, well, we've conquered religion. They can only say that they just don't believe it because they don't. Ha. We could just mock that as, but they keep failing. They fail that one over and over and over again, where they keep getting housed by various religious people of the present generation, especially. But the big one, though, is, well, now we got to conquer science, because science is going to prove that what we're saying is just a bunch of words, that because we don't have a metrics for this. We have no smallest metric of a thing called gender. So we can't prove phenomenologically it exists. Now, one of the beautiful things is the EU has these science panels that have been trying to find the bias of gender in science. After almost a decade of trying to do this, they can't figure out a definition for gender. I brought this up before. And so that's why now there's not really a way around this. You all are at the stage of now you're fabricating issues. You're just fabricating them. This idea that there's something that the society is doing to the black people, a fabrication. You never can prove this. No, and no matter what you try to do, and it's just like, well, no, there's just some people who are in poverty, because when you look at the numbers, black people aren't inordinately poor. That's not, no, you look at, like, people who would be in the middle class because they've gotten a chance to work, unless they did about 5 things, if they skip doing these 5 negative choices, they typically are in the middle class by the time they're 40. But the left wanted to skip that part of the real science, of the hard part of the science. Pardon me. The cold snap has come. This is great. And so what, and that was one of those things I really hated about Black Lives Matter, which also showed how it was not really a black movement. It was this weird bunch of gender sexual oddball commies who try to come up with a way of grifting and causing chaos, and really kind of ruining it for themselves. Now they're a group that they're totally radioactive in the world of politics now, and it's nothing but negative attention. Like, I really thought about that one a couple of days back, that I'm like, nobody's going to take their cause up ever again. Like, nobody's going to touch it. Only middle-class white college students are going to get anywhere near that. There's no group of Asians who will want to be allied with the gender sexual angry blacks. There's no group that has any reason to ally themselves or attach their flag to that. Even a lot of other groups of gay people and stuff are now more and more popping up on the right of center, because they're really like, I'm okay. They're like, I don't know what is going on with these people. Like, I just want to live a relatively normal life, and I'm just very private. Like, why are you people making my life this cause de guerre? And that, especially now, it's this cause de guerre, and it's running out of steam because there was no substance to it. There was no oppression of the gay men. And then beyond that, these people keep having problems with protecting kids from predators. When you're like, oh, well, here's a basic way of protecting children from predators, suddenly the LGBTQ Black Lives Matter people all over social media are really upset about it. Because in some way, protecting children from predators oppresses the non-binary children. Again, a thing that can't really be defined. And really shows, like, actually, again, where somebody kind of has been sort of gassed up thinking they have God-level powers over stuff, and that they can just sort of have this, it's kind of bargain Gnosticism. I know Nietzsche was talking about this. It was Jay Dyer and James Lindsay who had the talk about Gnosticism working its way from Joachim de Fiore into the Christian Brothers, as far as theologically, that Joachim de Fiore's model, and then that gets into political thinking via the Hegelians, and how Marx was so into Hegel. That was their argument with the Gnosticism. And so and it was a good argument. They really did a really great way of going through it. I highly recommend it. It was really cool. And that's why, in my view, it's a form of inverted Gnosticism. They've inverted the ladder. It's actually a way down. They've inverted it. They've come up with they're people who want it inverted. They want to take the world down into hell. Like what's his face was saying, like Marx was even saying in his artwork. And so that's why I think I kind of call it, like, it's like Kabbalah of the was it Klepolt, the Kabbalah of the shards, and the mysticism of the earth chambers and demons, and Yama, how to get to Yama faster by BLM and Antifa, it's a handbook, and comes with like a rock in a spray can, the deluxe version. And so the transgender thing will die among Christians. This won't be that there will be churches that think that it's okay, or that no. That'll be the decision. You do that, your church dies. You think that there's training Jesus, that your church dies. No man will touch it. No Christian men eventually will touch it. You'll run out of men. You won't exist anymore. Period. It's kind of nice that now there's sort of this ultimate, this is one of the most grandiose of lies, is that you start, worshiping Baphomet, so, yeah, all right, let me just bring it there. I think that was a pretty good ending right there. All right, peace.